Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video here. So I wanted to talk about Andrew Lincoln's comments regarding how he wants Rick Grimes to die, because I was actually watching it and I've seen this before like a long time ago, but considering that we've watched The Ones Who Live and we've sort of seen, I guess certain aspects to what he said, not really be able to play out, there is actually an aspect to it that probably could play out, first of all. But I kind of wanted to react to the whole thing here and I guess give some thoughts on what he said here and could this still happen here? So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Comic-Con is just next week. It's literally 8 days away. Well, actually, it starts a week from now, but the Walking Dead's panel is in 8 days exactly. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. Like, I'm expecting some announcement of something tomorrow because it's Friday. It's exactly a week away. But if there's nothing then like for sure on Monday, there's going to be a lot. Like for sure next week, there's going to be a whole build up from Monday up to Comic-Con. That always happens. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like that, breaking down every single thing that we do learn. Now, Andrew Lincoln did this interview for one of the seasons, or it looks like Comic-Con actually. I don't know if it's like New York Comic-Con because it definitely isn't San Diego Comic-Con because that definitely, like the panels look different there. So I don't know where this is. You guys could definitely let me know, but he actually talks about how he would like to see Rick die at some point in the future. Now, I do think because Sasha is here as well, and well, then again, Sasha does join The Walking Dead around season 3, so this could be like season 4 even still. So I'm not sure when this takes place. I was thinking season 5, 6, around there. Not 7 yet, obviously, because Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be there, right? So yeah, I think that his vision for how all of this plays out would be really amazing. Like, it actually would be really incredible. Looking back at it, I remember my first thoughts when I first saw this, I was just like kind of laughing. I was like, well, there's no way they could do that. Like, they can't really do that. But seeing this now, I'm like, could Andrew Lincoln actually get his ending after all? I think that would be really cool. If like it actually, happened and played out that way, people will be like, wow, he said that like 10 years ago or however long ago, right? But yeah, the way that Andrew Lincoln describes it, he basically, he jumps off of something or whatever, and he's in the desert. He needs food and water. He's having a hard time surviving. And first of all, could you just imagine the desert setting in The Walking Dead? I feel like for this to happen, you couldn't really do it in the United States. Like, I don't think so. So I don't know if we would get something like this where he's actually in a desert. I don't really see that being what happens here, but in like a wasteland or something, yeah, I could totally see that. Like maybe the CRM, they have used all their resources entirely at this point and they're left with nothing now. The 14-year plan that Beale said to Rick, maybe it eventually comes true, and it's not necessarily a desert that Rick's in, but it's just like a wasteland, right? And there's not a lot of communities there because no one has resources and no one has enough food and water to survive. So a lot of people have left communities to try and find that stuff. And so everyone is, struggling to survive again, just out there, just wandering fields and whatnot, trying to stay away from walkers and all of that. And so imagine if that ended up being something that did happen. And he does actually mention Carl as well, which is hilarious because obviously he's gone. And so Andrew Lincoln does mention, he's like, don't worry, he's still alive, which, yeah, in this version, he wouldn't be, right? So Judith would be, the character, I guess, that would be there. Rick would be trying to get to Judith or whatever, but he does actually say that, he's in the desert, he's trying to, survive and whatnot. A bunch of zombies come through something and, just swarm him basically. And he just keeps fighting the zombies and eventually he gets bit and he's still struggling to survive. He just keeps going and going and going. He finally gets to a place and he's like dying and he knows he's about to die. He's sort of saying his goodbyes and he's just having like these last thoughts and all that. Maybe he has hallucinations. Like Andrew Lincoln didn't mention this, but I was thinking like maybe they do that, something similar to what they did in season 9, right? Episode 5. What comes after like that episode, that would be really cool. But basically he's struggling though, and he's having a hard time trying to survive here. A whole day passes. He patches himself up and he's not dying. Like he's just not dying yet. Like literally the wound just starts to heal and he's actually not dead. He's not going to turn to a walker. And I could just picture that, being in that room and we're all, watching the scene and he knows he's about to die and then he just doesn't die. And it's like, wait, what? Like he's the cure, right? Like that's what Andrew Lincoln actually said. It was like, maybe he's the cure. And I think that would be such a cool way to like end all of this, was that Rick eventually, after all of this time, ended up being the cure. I think that would be really, out of all the characters, like it makes sense. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, then Judith would have to be the cure or RJ or Carl, right? Like they would have to be the cure. But I think that you don't have to make it so that it passes on. So that means that Carl, obviously, like he wasn't the cure because he got bit. Maybe it doesn't work in that way, but Rick somehow is the cure. I think that could work. I do think something like this would be a lot of fun. Like, I think based off of where the story is at right now, you could do something like that. Like, I do believe that that could happen. I mean, it would be a change from the comic book, because in the comics, obviously Rick does die and we do see him as a walker. So it would be very different. But I think I would be okay with that personally. Like, because maybe it's like he is the cure and some aspects with that, he would be able to help people, but maybe it's not necessarily like it will work for everybody. And obviously if he's the cure, he's not gonna walk into a horde of zombies and then get bit or whatever. And that's also one thing that Andrew Lincoln did mention, was that like after he notices that, he goes and walks out and I guess walks towards Carl or whatever. And eventually the walkers just sort of, there's a path that opens up and he's able to actually walk through the walkers. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, because that's just like what the walkers are going to allow you to go by. Like, none of that really makes a lot of sense. Like, walkers walk by really anyone. And I think that if he was immune to it, like I think it would be different. I don't think he would ever be immune to it in that way. And that is sort of how I view The Walking Dead, I guess, handling a lot of this, is that walkers wouldn't just ignore him. They probably would still try to bite him. It's just that he's not going to actually die from it, right? Like, he can't die from that. It's just literally people trying to bite him, right? So I think that that's probably how they would do it, because I think it's just a little crazy otherwise. And it is really interesting to think about in terms of characters that have, cures and whatnot, and or at least who have been thought to have had cures, right? Like Laurent, Daryl Dixon. I'm not sure where that is. It doesn't seem like he is the cure or anything like that, but it seems like a lot of people view him as that. So I'm interested in seeing how they tell that story in season 2, because in season 1 it really very much seemed like he was the cure, and it seems like a lot of people do believe that as well. It's not necessarily like everyone's going to follow him and all of that, but it's because they believe he is special and that he could probably cure a lot of people, or like he has the answers and all that to be able to stop all this stuff here, and we'll see where that goes there. But in terms of Rick Grimes being the cure, I think that would be really cool. I really don't have any issues with it. I think that I would like a storyline like this at some point. We haven't gotten anything in a while, so I think that just seeing anything in terms of, a cure storyline would be really amazing, because I feel like at some point they have to get to that, right? And, with the Varian Walker stuff, it is interesting because that is something that they could get into with this as well, because they're enhancing the walkers and whatnot. So couldn't they reverse it or do something with that to maybe, come up with some sort of cure and whatnot? Because that's the thing too, World Beyond, that show, the post-credit scene anyways, set up everything for Daryl Dixon. That was the post-credit scene that we got. We learned a lot of information in terms of the Primrose team and some of the, I guess, tests that were going on. They were trying to figure out what's going on with Varian Walkers. A lot of that, was connected with the Civic Republic military in terms of them trying to find a cure. And I guess the Civic Republic military was trying to find a cure. So, there is that. I do think that there is a connection there overall. Obviously, that's kind of my frustration too, is Gimple, he takes so long to connect a lot of this stuff there, right? He connects things like that very slowly. And to me, what it seems like as of now is Madame Genet and the CRM, do they know of each other? Probably. I'm assuming the Civic Republic no, because they have people all over the world, right? Gimple mentioned that he has spies all over the world or whatever. And so that could play a role at some point in the future. Or wait, was it Gimple or was it Beale? I know Beale mentioned that, but I think Gimple also could have mentioned that afterwards, and that could play a role at some point in the future. So I just look at it all that is happening, but I think that maybe they've just sort of lost contact over some time. But again, the CRM, I think that was something that Gimple came up with because they decided to kill off Beale. Because they decided to kill off Beale, and again, that kind of tells me that maybe that wasn't Gimple's choice. I think that's why coming up with the idea of Beale's spies, that Beale has spies out there just around the world, in certain communities and all that, that allows Gimple to be able to keep, some of Major General Beale's, I guess, story alive. And maybe they want revenge, this and that. They're going to be out there in places, right? And so I imagine that this could be a storyline that we deal with in Daryl Dixon. And I don't know if it's related to the cure and all that. I have no idea. But I'm just, I'm interested in the Daryl Dixon storyline, and specifically with Madame Genet, and all the researchers and stuff with the variant walkers, and just like where that's going to go this season, because I know the walkers are going to get crazier, and they're not going to have that issue where if they see each other, they kill each other. Like they're going to be able to be, you know, together. And I'm interested in knowing if that's going to be a big reveal in the trailer. I think that would be really amazing if that was. Man, I'm so excited for the trailer. But yeah, Andrew Lincoln, you know, his thoughts on how Rick should die and all of that. I mean, technically, this is how he believes Rick should die, but it's not how Rick dies. Like, it's technically like it's not even his death, but that's how it's approached. So I didn't want to spoil anything for people who don't know, but that is sort of his approach to telling the story, is like, this is how he wants Rick Grimes to die. But that's the reveals. You think he's going to die. All this stuff is happening, but at the end, maybe he's the cure, right? So I think that would be such a crazy storyline to do. And I honestly would love them to do something like that. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here, though. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. In terms of all the updates for The Walking Dead and stuff, we did actually see that they did finish the artwork entirely for the Book of Carol, and I'll do a video just sort of talking about all of that, because I'll do a video, I guess, talking about all of it, because we do actually see the full artwork now, and it looks absolutely incredible. I'm seeing this here from Valerie the Bean, and I mean, yeah, everything's completely done. I'm not seeing anything so far for Dead City, which is kind of frustrating, because I remember Daryl Dixon, I believe, actually got the posters here last year. Like, they were also on this wall last year, I'm pretty sure. And then there was like a lower window somewhere, and that was where the Rick and Michonne show was, right? Like The Ones Who Live. And this year, the Daryl Dixon show got every single window. Dead City is nowhere to be seen so far. So I don't know, maybe they're still going to work on something, or maybe there's just something else out there. Maybe there's no artwork to be shown really yet. I have no idea. But still, this looks absolutely amazing. And again, I saw this from Valerie the Bean on Twitter, and yeah, really incredible stuff. And also, apparently the cast is going to be on other events. It seems like it's not just going to be Hall H, it's going to be other events going on at Comic-Con. I don't know all the details yet, but they're going to be doing other interviews in other places, and so during those places as well, that's where, you know, someone else could ask them questions about this or that, and we could learn some new information there as well. So that could be happening on a different day. It might not necessarily be on the Friday, it could be on the Saturday, but yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it here, though. Make sure to post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.